Hey now, it's Sharon, and I'm back to share another idea on how to reform the police. Um, if you're new to the channel, I'm a retired detective. I worked for 20 years for a southeastern city in the US, and I was also in the military. I'm sharing my experiences, excuse me, and my perspective, along with my opinions on how we can uh, reframe and reform the police. And with that being said, with what's recently been in the news and the person who previously held the office of president is now convicted as a civilian and has a couple of felonies. And I sat down and thought about that, and I'm like, so police officers can have felonies now? You know, when I started to think about from that top position and how all the other positions fall under it. There's a standard, right? Or you would think there was a standard. As a police officer, I had to go through a background check. They spoke to neighbors, they spoke to friends, they spoke to everybody. In the Army, they did a background check, and it was extensive. And they vetted you for different levels of secrecy, if you will. And so with this person running for the highest office, as they say, in the land, how does that trickle down to the office of peace officer? And I really sat and thought about it. And I know some people are going to get angry at me, but just listen for a second. Why not have a felony? And I say that, think about it, as an officer or any position of that where you're required to defend the Constitution or your state's Constitution in that degree. Why not have a felony? And I sat and thought about it. Yeah, you can have a felony after you've served your time and paid restitution. Why not? Something to think about, right? But in its current situation right now, this person is running, has been convicted as a civilian with these, and now he has felonies. As an officer, or in the current position of officer, or you're trying to become an officer and they do that background check and you have a couple of felonies, is that okay? For some people, that's not going to be okay. That is not going to be all right. And at one time I thought that, but in my thinking now and what I've gone through and seen and been in the ranks, if you've served your time and paid the restitution and you haven't gotten in trouble or caught any felonies, as I say, within the last 10 years, I think that might be a standard that we can add to policing. But as it currently stands, no. And like I said, the idea of law and order, it seems to have a different set of ideas now, since this person the civilian has been convicted and now has these felonies. He hasn't served any time, he hasn't paid any restitution, so that is in itself a whole different ball of wax. But for the people that have felonies right now, that couldn't get into schools, couldn't get work, loans, all different types, couldn't vote, how does that work now? How does that work now with the current situation? How does policing work now with the current situation? Do we allow people in to policing that have had felonies? Perhaps not violent felonies or felonies at all? Do we let them in? How does that work now? Since he's running for the office, he hasn't been put out of the race. It's something to think about, because policing definitely needs an overhaul. And having a felony and having served your time and paid your restitution, maybe the slate should be wiped clean. I'm just giving you something to think about, because as an officer, and I'm retired, it gives new perspective because of what's going on now. And like I've always known and felt with people that have felonies, it shouldn't follow them for the rest of their lives, especially if they've paid their time, they've done their restitution. It should not follow them for the rest of their lives. And then there are degrees, you know, if it was a violent felony, if it was victimless crime, if you will, like having 13 pounds of marijuana in your car. It's just something to think about. I know some people are probably going to be upset that I said that, but that's okay. It's just an opinion, mine. And I'm sharing some ideas on how to reform the police. Because right now, as it stands, if this person keeps running, who is currently a civilian with felonies, we're going to have to take a step back and look at how we define policing and who comes into it and what's required in the standards. That's enough for now. But take a look at our online store. The link is in the description. I created some notebooks and things like that. The links for those are in the description. And the book is finished. My book is finished. I'll probably be talking more about it next week. It's finished. And as always, always remember, you don't necessarily have to go through a thing to learn from it. Talk to you guys later. Bye.